Hello, I'm Connie Rotella, and welcome to our Triple Threat podcast. I'm super excited to begin this journey with all of you. Are you ready to put your best foot forward and show up with confidence? This tool is here to help you evolve into the artist you are meant to be. Just always remember to believe, become, and be ready. Add a new skill set or refine what you already know. So here we go. Today I have a special guest with me. She is the wonderful Victoria Sanchez, actress, filmmaker. Thank you for being with us, Victoria. It is such a pleasure to have you with me. I just adore you. I woke up this morning saying to myself, if I would have chosen the path of being an actress, who would I want to follow in their shoes? And it's your name. It's Victoria. If I had chosen to be an actress and not a dancer, I feel like I would have taken your CV and go, I want to be Victoria Sanchez. And
wow.
I do that for one day. I literally woke up like this, Victoria, this morning. And I love you. And you are loved by so many people here in Montreal.
Well, I want to say that I just love how you wake up every morning. You're an inspiration, your motivation, your positivity, your smile, your courage, everything is just, and your love is very admirable, and it inspires me. So there you go.
Victoria, I love you. You're such an amazing person. So how did you get started in the business, and when did you get started in the business?
All right. So none of this is planned. So I'm just going to go all the way back into my memory cells in the back of my brain and see where it all got started. So I have to blame two movies for that. Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
Because of the dresses that Scarlett O'Hara wore. And that, I said, I want to be an actress like her, and I want to wear dresses like that. Now that doesn't happen very often anymore, and then of course West Side Story, which I saw first as a play with Kids in Action, Natalie Gautier's Kids in Action back in the day, which I'll tell you about a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I was like, I need to act. I need to be Maria. I feel like I'm Maria. And I was like 7 years old, and I knew right then and there that I was going to be an actress. And both my parents were artists, and they had no, desire of seeing me go in that route because they knew what a difficult path that was. So I started working to make my own money to go to kids theater school, which was Kids in Action. I was able to round up enough dog sitting money and paper route money to be able to go. And I was like 12 years old when I first joined Kids in Action and got on stage.
Wow, kids, are you listening? If the kids are listening, if parents of kids are listening, that's determination. Victoria knew at 7 years old, this is what she wanted to do by watching two movies and because of the dress code, because you love those big dresses and that whole theme is just what brings you to life. But
what I have to say though is West Side Story I saw here. So I was born in Canary Islands, so I was 7 years old when I saw Gone with the Wind, but it was here in Canada, in Montreal, that I saw Kids in Action perform West Side Story. So I was a little bit older then. So I was like, I don't know, 10 or 11 or something like that.
So who do you ever meet that is born in Canary Islands? Like Victoria is born there. How old were you when you came here in Canada?
I was 9. I was 9 years old. Yep. I arrived here in the middle of February. And anyways, I won't get into that story, but everything happens for a reason, but I miss the Canary Islands very, very much.
Of course, that's your homeland. Okay, so after you raised this money and you got working and all that, you went to training, and this is where you met an amazing teacher, right? That mentored you.
Yes, Natalie Gautier, but it was also, she was running the school. I mean, she started it when she was like 15 years old. She's an incredible woman that you have to interview at some point as well. I will. But there was also Nadia Verrucci and Leslie Sellers that were my teachers there at the time. And I remember Natalie kept saying that I was not necessarily a stage actress, but that I was a film actress. Like she could tell that from the beginning, from the very, very early ages, because I had a hard time being really big on stage. Like it didn't make me comfortable. I enjoyed natural type of acting more, even though I was influenced by very big acting and musicals. there was something in me that was slightly more real in the acting. Like I had a hard time faking it. Like I had a hard time putting it out there. It was more, to me,
Internal.
it was more of an emotional connection to the acting. I needed to feel it inside. I needed to feel it as a realistic approach. Like, what would I be like if I was in that character? You know, and how do I make it believable? And it wasn't planned. That just is how I was, and Natalie was able to see it right away. So she put me in dramatic players.
Oh, that's, you know what? Seriously, though, that's deep what you said, because you know how hard it is for any of us to connect internally. So going big hides the internal side, and it's the other way around. I like to just understand it from the inside and just let it come out, which is not something you hear every day, though, because everybody does go bigger than they should. And it takes time for us to reduce until we're just fully in the moment. And in your case, you're like, nah, I'm not going to fake it. I need to go straight there. So it's really wonderful.
I mean, there's something really fun about that. It's very artistic and theatrical, and it's, it's fun. But for me, it just feels sometimes a little bit, not real. But I love it and appreciate it when other people nail it, because that's like a total art form in itself.
True.
Very
true.
But now, like 20 years into my career, I tend to follow something that's more like, there's a book written by Harold Guskin, who was an incredible acting coach who coached Meryl Streep and Christopher Reeves and amazing actors. And it's called How to Stop Acting. And it's so good, that book. I wish I would have read it right at the beginning of my career, because that's more for like the type of acting that I like to do, which is, more natural and more for the camera than for the stage. But it's really about taking in the breaths and using the breaths and getting the words off the page and breathing through it, But that can also work for the stage, of course, because you're doing a lot more movement and dancing and all kinds of stuff. So it could definitely work for that as well. But for me, it helped with stillness.
Yeah.
For on camera work. That's
a book that you would recommend for everybody to read?
I would recommend it highly for people more interested in how to act for the camera. Just because of, it helps with that stillness and that natural action reaction process.
Yes, well said. Well said. Okay, so you started training. She saw this natural talent in you. And how did you book an agent or get started in auditioning?
Okay, well, I went to theater school. After Kids in Action, I went to John Abbott's professional theater school for 3 years. It was quite an intense program because we had, I think, 10 or 11 courses a week, 7 being theater, and then you had core courses on top of that. And we started very, very early in the mornings, and we got out of there pretty late. So I'm really happy that I was able to get a foundation in theater. And I think it's quite important for a lot of people. There's some actors that just have it naturally from birth, and that's, like a Leonardo DiCaprio type, or, they just have it. Juliette Lewis, they have it. But then there's other people that could really, really gain a lot from the foundation of the theater, whether it's movement, whether it's voice. Voice was a class I hated the most. And today it's the biggest part of my career.
Wow.
And so I head back into those exercises sometimes. And I'm like, I remember when I was falling asleep on my chair and I would get in trouble from the teachers. But now I look back and it's like, that was the most important class of the whole thing,
So that teaches us a big lesson. Never assume that you're learning something for nothing. You'll never know when it comes in handy.
Oh yeah. And I remember a teacher, I think she used to say, for every day that you put aside your craft, it's going to be a day that's going to miss in your career or something like that. And that scared the shit out of me. Because I wasn't like the most disciplined human being. But I realized that, she had was something pretty true about what she was saying, because there's so many things so many areas that you have to practice. It's not just one. Okay, here I'm going to act today. No, there's movement, there's research, there's not gaining knowledge. It's all part of it. There's your voice. And that's what I love about what you're doing, and what we're creating with our other project is that it's about, triple threat, educating the three disciplines. For stage and now on screen, because musicals are huge on screen, but we'll get into that
exactly
a little later. So I went to professional theater school, and then I got out, and one thing that was missing out of that professional theater school, as is in many, unfortunately, is they didn't teach us what to do to go get a job in film or TV. So we didn't know how to audition in front of the camera. I think now that they're doing it now more, which is really great. So when I went in for my first audition, okay, so I had to look for an agent in the newspaper at the time. I think it was the Mirror.
In the newspaper. Did you hear that?
In the newspaper, yes. A while ago. It was 1996 I graduated. And so I pretty much figured it out all on my own. Everything that I figured out about going into film and television, I did on my own. And that's the luxury of what everyone has today, is that they can just go online, YouTube everything, Google everything, and get answers for absolutely everything. And having your phone so that you could film yourself doing stuff. And I mean, we did not go through that at all. It was like the real cattle call. I learned by experience. I consider myself pretty street smart, above anything else. And I was able to figure it out, and I got my first audition. But the thing is that when I arrived to my first audition, I just went with instinct. So I was extremely prepared. I mean, theater taught me that. So I had my lines down, like I could say those lines backwards. And then I decided to arrive with 2 gigantic bags of props for the scene, and I created my set
in the audition room.
So I was supposed to be, and it was actually a French audition, which is weird, because I started in French and then So, and I came out of an English school,
right?
But anyways, here I was.
That's the beauty of Montreal. We can work in both, and you never know. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think it's very important for people to embrace both languages in every aspect, So when I got there, I had to iron some clothes, and I had to be on a phone call. And so I had an ironing board. I had my ironer. I had a ton of clothes that I was ironing. I had a phone, a red phone. I remember my red phone. And so I took all the time I had to do it. And they were just staring at me from the couch, like probably trying not to like explode of laughter. But I put so much love and passion and effort into that audition that by the end of that audition, the director got up from the couch and he slowly came up to me and he looked at me in my eyes and he said, "Victoria, you've got the role."
I would have given you the role, just you coming in with your props and setting up even before you spoke. Oh my God, who even does that? Who brings
I don't know,
bags of
but
props?
But look, it got me the part. I was very prepared. You want to talk preparation? Because acting, I mean, what's his name? Michael Caine.
Yes.
By the way, his book, I recommend to both his books, but the last one is phenomenal. You can even get his audiobook, which is narrated by him, and it's amazing. But he will really stress how preparation is everything. So you work more at home than when you get on set, because that's where you pick your choices, you pick your character, you pick your, all that's going to go into the work. You memorize your lines and everything. You do that at home. Your job as an actor is to arrive there prepared, knowing your lines, and ready to go. Preparation's big. And and then my second audition was for Student Bodies, which again, because I had been working on the other show for a long time, I hadn't been auditioning very much for other stuff. And I arrived to the audition room with props. with school props. Like I had binders and a bag, and because it was supposed to be a high school thing. And I was going for the role of this really clumsy girl. And I walk in, and as I walk in, I actually trip. And all the books go flying everywhere. And I'm like, oh, oops, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, and I'm picking up everything. And I guess it was really funny to them to watch because I was literally Grace. I was literally the character. And I didn't even try. It wasn't on purpose. And so that one was pretty.
It was meant to be. And you were so amazing in Student Bodies because everybody remembers that show. And everybody, I don't know why they connected to you and your character. It's like everybody wanted to be you in that show. And I still have students that I teach that if I say I was with Victoria Sanchez, you see them light up or blush. It's like, oh my God, she was my favorite. It's so adorable. Oh yeah. Like really, it was a great show though. You had a great run with that show too.
Oh yeah, it was so much fun. And also a place where we learned a lot, but we just got so lucky to be able to be on that show in Montreal because it had like an American vibe to it and everything, and kind of Saved by the Bell vibe. Yeah. But yeah, that was very special. I'm very grateful for that.
Congratulations. Your first show you nailed. Your second one you booked again. So it was just one audition after the other and people couldn't get enough of you because you were coming in with props all the time?
While we were on the show, we had exclusivity deals. Like we had to, well, actually I didn't have an exclusivity deal, but because I chose not to. There was less time for auditions because you're working. So then, but once I was done with that show, then I went to do a bunch of other auditions, and I got a lot of other series and films, especially films of the week.
Yeah.
But it was here in Canada, so it was not always the best films, but it was, I did work constantly for quite a few years. And I do still wish to this day that I would have gone to California right after Student Bodies. That's probably my one little regret.
That's the question I wanted to ask you, because I did fly with you to LA where I met some of your friends that made that choice to live there, and walking the streets with you. You're like, I love it here. You would tell me stories of when you were ringing the doorbell of Aaron Spelling, I believe, because you were going there.
Because I had worked with Tori Spelling, and I walked right into Quentin Tarantino's office and Spike Lee. I just felt like I was on top of the world when I was there. I just felt really great, and also reminds me so much of Canary Islands because it's the same climate and environment and weather. Yes. So, and I'm very weather driven. So I was always very loyal and wanted to give Montreal a chance and help the community here more than anything. I get a big kick out of connecting people, and I love getting people the help that they need when they're very talented. Just like you have that. You have that as well. Big time. And so I stayed here because I believed in the community. I still do, but I kind of sacrificed myself in the process, and that is a bit of a regret that I have. Right. Even though they say you shouldn't have any regrets, and it's there are no mistakes, and everything happens for a reason. And perhaps if I would have gone to LA, it would have been a disaster. But I just feel like the opportunities that are there or were there at the time for me could have been much larger in terms of the exposure of who you're doing these auditions for, the caliber of the directors and the people that are there, the scripts, the storytelling, and so on. I'm not saying that that's not here. There's some great stuff that come out of here, but if you look at the amount difference, like you could walk into any cafe, in California, and at the time especially, we'd run into all kinds of celebrities here and there, and so it was easier to mingle and become part of certain groups over there that were already up and running in, at very high levels in the business. The biggest problem here, which is still a huge problem, and I'm part of, I've been part of committees at ACTRA, and I'm part of the ELAN and everything. And I bring this up is that there's no publicity for English artists in Montreal. Even in Toronto, I mean, in all of Canada, there's a huge lack of publicity. I mean, everything's changing now. Now everything's on social media, but there was a time when that was extremely important. So it affected things. Whereas Quebec, French Canadian actors had tons of publicity in the, when you go to the store and you see Les Sept Jours et La Semaine and all that, whatever magazines, they're all French. So you see them on the covers. The French public gets to know them. I remember my only big interview in a magazine was when I did a French show.
Yeah.
But then Student Bodies had zero publicity.
Yeah. It's very strange to me, but the French community built their own little star system. So it's only them seeing their own little star system thing. In the English community, it's bigger, right? Like, I mean, we've got all of Canada, all the States, and all over the world. So I know there's something has to be done for this English. We need to create an English star system here. Something has to be created for the English actors in order for them to be seen and maybe taken seriously at another level, not just like, oh yeah, you're great for Montreal, No, you're great. That's it. You're excellent. And you should be doing this every day. And, Victoria, acting is forever, though. When you say you have that one regret, you still could pick up and just go and do your career there in LA. There's no age.
Oh yeah, that's the plan. that's still the plan. This means that, I became a mom and, so just going to school, and there was some things that I was tied to here, some projects in development, but especially after COVID and realizing just how much we can get done from anywhere. Yeah. It's inspiring me so much more to really get that visa done and get the hell out of here. I just can't, no offense to anyone, but I just can't stand the winters. It's too much for me.
I know. And you are such a LA girl anyway, just the way you walk, the vibe, and your community there in LA, your friends, you are just loved in LA too. You've got some of the greatest acting friends too. So it's like, it's going to work out. And the data.
Yeah. When I'm there, I think I belong there.
Oh, you totally belong there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait to go back with you and walk the streets because
it definitely so much fun.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
You felt like you belong there too, it's just, I did familiarity about being there. And I feel like I lived there in a past life. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but I really do, because I still try to find my way around Montreal sometimes, but when I'm in LA, I know exactly where I'm going. I know exactly where.
I remember. I was like, I felt so safe in the car going, oh, she knows where she's going, because I have no clue where I am at. I'm just, and trust me, the driving we did in one day, it's like you have to drive so long to get to one place to another. Compared to New York, I'm more of a New York City girl. I love walking and getting to everywhere I want to get in like 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes max, And LA, it takes a whole day to do a lot of things, right? Because you have to travel a lot. You can't just walk from one place.
But I love driving. So for me, I don't even see the time go by when I'm in the car.
What were your plans, like acting? And then did you start writing, producing, directing? What exactly was your step after that? Because you said, I want more. I don't just want to act.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm just a storyteller at heart. And that's really what inspired me to always just, if I really felt compelled to do something, I would just do it. Whether I knew how to do it or not, I would just do it. And so the thing is that I had this book that I was obsessed with when I was a kid, called Wait Till Helen Comes, a ghost story written by Mary Downing Hahn, who's kind of like a Stephen King for young adults. And I was just obsessed with that book. So I was always like, I'd love to see it as a movie, And so to make a long story short, I adapted the novel. It took me 6 days because I was so into it. To first transcribe the book and then just adapt it and change the scenes around and do whatever I had to do to make it like live on the screen. And the thing is that it's very expensive to option a book. So it took a long time to get that rolling. Also, I was just new to that world of producing and everything. And I almost got it made. I was always shooting for the moon. So I was going for the Spielbergs and the Guillermo del Toros and this and that. And I came super close to getting it made with some of the biggest directors and producers out there. And somehow it would just fall through. Either they were onto another project or something would fall through in the phase of the contract. It wasn't that easy. So there was many times where I got my hopes up and then it would kind of come crumbling down, which kind of happens often when you're trying to pitch something. But somehow I didn't give up. And eventually it got made. So that was my perseverance and resilience to get it done. But I learned a lot of lessons through that process, which helped me make the second movie, Pie Wacket, which was my best friend's script, Adam McDonald. And I remember when there was thoughts of changing anything in the script, I was like, no one is touching the script, because I had learned so much from the first experience where not everything that I wanted had gotten on the screen. Unfortunately, that was a really hard pill to swallow. But there's so many people that get involved into making films that often, there's too many cooks and there's too many opinions, and the original vision can get lost. So I was very adamant for the next project that no one touch the vision that we had intended to make. And with the help of Jonathan and Andrew Bronfman, Joe Bro Productions in Toronto, we got that made, and it made top 10 horror movies lists for like 2 years.
Yes. Isn't that amazing?
It's a really great film. Like it's called Pie Wacket, and I strongly recommend it. It's really good. I'm really proud of that one.
We're going to be watching that one. How long did it take?
I think we got it financed in like 6 months. So, or up to a year, I think. But yeah, I mean, the first one took me 10 years.
Exactly.
The first movie took 10 years of resilience to get through that. But there wasn't a day that I stopped working on that.
See, that's what I like about you. You're like your perseverance. You're just always motivated. 10 years. How do you keep that motivation going day after day? Different. You and I have different types of motivations. It's a very, very physical, action-driven motivation, which you have, and I'm more of like connecting through people, words, through ideas in my mind, writing things. I love writing. I think writing is one of the things I enjoy the most. Right. There's different types of motivations, but I also had a phase in my life when I went through something very difficult, where I needed to slow down, because I was a type of person that didn't know how to slow down. So whenever there was a burnout or there was a grief that I had to face in my life, I would just plummet through it, like I would just go through it like, oh, I'm gonna keep working, everything's gonna be fine. And at one point your body decides for you and you have no choice. So there was times recently when I had to slow down because I had too much happen at once. And I had a hard time accepting it, but I finally had to accept it. And did you really slow down, Victoria?
Well, I had no choice. I got into a car accident March 4th. So that, I got fractures all over my pelvis area, and I couldn't move. So I didn't have much of a choice. I had to lay down in the hospital bed. But yeah, I managed to make myself a little office in the hospital bed.
That's why I'm like, did you really slow down? Because after 2 days, I think we all received a picture of Victoria in her hospital bed with her laptop and working, already at work. I couldn't even believe it. I'm like, this girl never ends. She doesn't stop.
You would have done the same thing. I know you would have done the same thing. Morphine and all, you would have done the same thing. That was the only thing, is that I had to take painkillers. So sometimes I was like a little slower. But
we're a perfect match to work together. I love your energy. I love your fire. I love your passion. And both of us have that energy. And I remember going in and pitching with you our project. And I'm like, we're just bouncing it off. It's like, boom, the passion goes from one area to the other area. It was just so fun. And it feels so grounded with you. I don't know. It didn't feel nerve-wracking, because it was my first time pitching something that I truly believe in. You've been in it for a while. So pitching in wherever you brought me was pretty big, and it was pretty fancy and awesome. But I'm like this going, am I actually really here pitching this project that we have together to these important people? And they were just the most kindest people. And it was just so much fun doing it with you. I can't even picture me doing this with anybody else at this moment.
Well, it's because we believe when you believe in a project,
true,
it comes out naturally. And that's the number one thing about pitching. It's you gotta believe. It's like a salesperson. If you really believe in your product, you're gonna sell tons of it. If you're passionate about it, you're gonna sell tons of it. But if you're not passionate about what you're trying to pitch, they're gonna feel that energy.
Totally.
You
So
know?
how long is this pitching going to last, Victoria?
No one can say how long a project takes because, as I've told you before, it's all a question of timing. It's about the right timing, being at the right place at the right time, but being prepared for it, right? You know my preparation story.
Oh, definitely. I know your preparation story. And it's funny because that's what I teach at the studio in the Triple Thread Academy. The only difference is my preparation goes faster because we're training always for a goal and we have a result right away because we have a date that we have to give it in or do it by or, audition for or prepare for. In this case, it's just different because it's like it sits and it has to, cook and then we have to change it and then we have to upgrade it. Then we have to make new changes. It's
but
like,
see how time's worked out in our, in our best interest because there's certain technologies evolving so quickly that there's things that we've learned.
Yes.
That we would have never had we started the project last year, which are making, we can't, without saying too much, are making the project 10,000 times more interesting now.
I can't wait to share it with all of you. And I'm sure, Victoria, I want you to tell the story about your audition for Maria.
Well, that was that's what I meant by the preparation story, which reminded me, which is why I'm doing this project with you, because one of my dreams, as I mentioned earlier, was to be Maria in West Side Story. And I just never thought the opportunity would come. The film was done, the play, there wasn't anyone doing the play in Montreal. I was getting older. I was like 27 at one point. And then Nadia and Vera, the casting directors, call me up and they're like, would you like to audition for a musical? Can you sing? And that's one thing I didn't believe I could sing. So I never tried. I tried in theater and I was okay, but I never continued with the discipline of teaching myself how to sing properly, like operatic. And so I said, not really. They're like, oh, that's too bad because West Side Story, the musical world tour is coming here to look for the actors. And I was like, Maria? And, and they're like, yeah, we wanted to send you off for Maria. And I was like, oh, I was in utter shock. And they said, well, can you at least come in and read for the other actors, to give them their cue lines? And I said, yeah, for sure. I'll go in. So it was 3 days of auditioning, all these wonderful actors that were there with their singing and dancing and acting. And I did, of course, the acting parts with them. And so I got to play Anita, I got to play Maria, I got to play all the different characters. And at the end, the producer and director got up to me and they said, Victoria, it's really unfortunate that you cannot sing because you would have been Maria.
Oh, how did that feel at that moment?
Well, I put on my mask, thanked them, and went home and cried. So, but it taught me something that I share with all the people who want to become actors. Believe in yourself because you never, that opportunity that you think might never come can come. It most likely will come to teach you a lesson if you're not prepared. So prepare yourself and do the training you need to do to get to a comfortable place where you could sing and dance and do all of it, especially if your dream is to be in that space, Yeah,
your dream is to be an artist. And you know what you just said here? It's just so important because I think that's what I live by. And that's why I'm doing what I do. And sometimes, we're older, we've been doing this for a long time. And obviously when you're young, in your young 20s, you're like, oh, but I want it now. And I'm looking at them going, yeah, but you're still not solid. There's still not enough training in you. There's still not enough experience. What?
We say too green.
Yeah. And it's how do you explain it to them? And, I have full trust and people trust us, the team, everybody. It's just sometimes it's like they're rushing it. And I'm like, oh my God, you could be so much stronger if you would just listen, take that 1 second to listen. Cause that opportunity, when it shows up, don't you want to go full force than showing up half your capacity
Yeah.
skills. So
absolutely. Yeah. But it's very tough to teach that to a young person. I mean, people try to maybe teach that to me, and especially maybe my teachers. But I was kind of, a rebel and hard-headed. And I was also kind of like, no, I could just do this. I don't need to train every day. And I thought I could do something like at the last minute, but hey, I tried to practice that Maria song. No, there was definitely some training needed. And look, now I'm teaching myself how to sing. I will eventually. I love dancing. I've always had that bit naturally. So when there is a choreography or something, I do have it naturally because my mom was a ballerina, and I think it's just instinctively in me.
Yeah.
So, and I remember Natalie Gauthier using me as an example the first time I was actually doing a choreography when I had never even done one, and she used me as an example for the class, and I was like blown away that she gave me that chance. But obviously there was something there that was natural. Like I said, there's some people that have certain things naturally.
Yes.
And there's some people who really need the training.
Definitely. What would you tell your younger self, Victoria?
Oh, that's a good one. Listen.
Listen. Okay, we've got that.
Love yourself.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need anyone to tell you how good you are. And well, there's a lot of things I did do right, though, like the perseverance and resilience and all that I'm proud of. And no one taught me that. Maybe my mom. Maybe somehow my mother, she was extremely strong.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe by example, don't party too hard.
Coming from Victoria, what do you mean? What does that mean?
Because I mean, that was, you gotta be careful with your vocal cords and your body, be gentle. And it's all part of loving yourself. I had a hard time with that. I was very critical of myself, and I was very judgmental. And I'm still working on that, and I'm still healing from a lot of things. It's an everyday journey. But I wish that I would have started the process a little earlier, in my life, of the work on oneself.
Right.
And I think that that's something that should be taught in schools, like I think every school should start with a yoga meditation in the morning and have a class on communications and relationship, on how to be gentle with yourself and love yourself. And there's none of that in the schools. The programs here are so upside down.
Mm-hmm.
So upside down. People,
even on the business level, accounting, business level, like we need more information.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, how to manage money. Those things should really be implemented at a very young age in school.
What's coming up for you? What are your biggest dreams that you still want to make happen?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really happy that I've had a chance to explore so many areas in the business, from writing to producing to directing. I think directing is where I feel at my best, in my element. And so I look forward to pursuing that with the right projects. And I have about 10 projects in development right now, for whether it's at a creative level or a producing level as an executive producer or a writer. And I'll continue with acting, but I'm going to be more selective on the roles that I want to do. And voice, I mean, I'm grateful for my voice teacher. For my voice teacher, I do a lot of video games and all that stuff. Where I want to go, where I want to be, I do have a lot of love for this place. Montreal's a great place to live. So I wouldn't abandon Montreal entirely, but I will not spend another winter here.
Okay.
It's a huge decision of mine. So even if it's, a few months in winter to break it up, either be in California or somewhere warm where I could work from, that's a big one. And I really do enjoy developing projects. So I'm going to continue with that. We've got some really great ones, including ours, Connie, and the works that we want to get out there.
Yes.
I'll continue with whatever I am doing, but I think that the quality is going to get better and better, and the people surrounding the projects are going to get better and better, because that's very important. It's very important to be well surrounded by good people who are not going to get paranoid or greedy, and just have good teams around you so that you can have fun while you're creating.
I
and enjoy the
know.
process.
Isn't that the best part? Like, I mean, having that amazing surrounding, having the right people connecting, and because we're huge connectors and connecting other people's, because when you start something, then you bring in the whole community with you. And, there's so much greatness that could happen just because we're at the right place, the right time, and with an open heart and passionate about what we believe in. It's amazing. Aging, I don't know about you, but aging feels like everything takes more time. Like, I mean, you want to savor every moment. You want to grow and become even better and better. And the younger self is like rushing into it so fast.
Yeah.
So it's so amazing to see this path, and also on the spiritual level, the work that needs to do with all the self-love and self-care that you've been speaking about. And, you went through something really huge 6 weeks ago, or almost 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And you came out of it being so positive, and you were the light out of all this. You were like, wow, we were all worried about you. And you're like, sharing light and thanking everybody, and we were sending you prayers and energy, and you're healing so fast, even if your healing process is still not over. You that trying to climb the walls to get to one place to another. But
no, the healing process has been great. I've also had a native friend helping me with his community, sending healing vibes, helping myself, Sandy, who was in the accident with me, and our 2 daughters, just to get through it. Thank God they had no major injuries, but there's still trauma involved from there. So I know that that's been a big part of us healing, being like cared for and watched for, and not just all the love that poured in. I think, what it really comes down to is we need to do things from our hearts. And with love, and eventually we'll reach the right path. There's so many paths, but if we continue on that journey, I think that a lot of people that are very successful, when you listen to their stories, it's most of the time it's because they followed that path, and a lot of them came from very difficult places. So it takes the time it needs to take, but it's all about when the right time meets the right opportunity. It really is. And you got to have a little luck too in this business. Oh
yes. You're all
luck
about
plays a little part, but
just a little bit. Thank you for sharing all of that, Victoria. You're just wonderful. And I can't wait to keep working with you and creating more projects together.
Yes. And will give us a chance to also meet a whole bunch of other wonderful artists and helping them, because I know that you and I have that in our hearts, is to help people as well. But we got to help ourselves first, but we love finding talent. I know that you have that in common.
So in saying that, there's a reason why I keep telling you guys, keep training, please keep training. We want to feature our Canadian talent, but we have to train just as hard as New York and LA is training, or Toronto, because Montreal, we seem to be a little bit laid back, little bit too comfortable for what?
No, too much joie de vivre.
Too much joie de vivre, which is great. Bring that in.
No, I'm kidding. That's actually that's what people love about us here.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, who knows? Maybe you and I will build the star system here somehow.
You know what? I love that, Victoria. And I think, yes, our energy, it's funny because Victoria and I are a little bit different. She's like the wild one. And I'm more like, yes, I need my sleep. I need to, everything is scheduled, a different routine, but we complement each other so well. It's just so funny how it's different path, but what's to come is really interesting for both of us in our own way, but also together.
Yeah, I think you're right. We do complement each other very well and balance each other out. And it's such a pleasure. It's been such a pleasure working from you from day one. Working with you. Yeah.
Thank you.
I look forward to a lot more.
I know, me too, Victoria. Thank you for saying yes. And I will see you soon. And everything you shared with us is important. I hope you all listen in, because not only are we speaking about work and career and paths, but you see that journey, that spiritual journey, and listening to that inner voice and really connecting to your heart is important. And because we're two huge connectors, we really hope to see you in part of our projects in the near future, because that's what we want to do for you.
Yes, absolutely. And if there's anyone out there that is looking for ways to connect more into your heart, you can reach out to me and I can help you with that as well through HeartRise.
Yeah.
It's some very easy steps that can just help connect and ground you before auditions and ground you before all kinds of stuff. So but just keep that in mind. Stay connected. Try to stay true to yourself when you're performing, and don't forget to breathe.
And love what you do. Thank you so much.
Otherwise, not much point.
I know.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Victoria. I love you. I adore you. And I can't wait to see you. And this is the end for season 2 with Victoria Sanchez.
Woo!